Walking in that sun.
Welcome back to CBS Saturday Morning. When someone starts powering their home with solar energy and stops buying power from their local utility, many like to think they've gone off the grid. But in many areas, they're not as independent as you might think. Many profit from selling power back to the community, and often without covering the cost of the maintenance of the grid itself. Now, some say their sunny deal is creating a dark cloud for others. Barry Peterson has the story.
When I say save, you say solar. Save! Solar! Save!
Solar! If you think there's nothing controversial about the value of solar energy,
Please don't take our sunshine away.
welcome to California.
Yeah, well, anybody who's getting such a sweet deal doesn't want their sunshine taken away.
UC Berkeley professor Severin Borenstein studies the economics of renewable energy. And yes, this controversy is all about money.
Well, if an industry turns out to be not cost effective, we really need to recognize that and find other ways to cost effectively address climate change.
When it comes to turning the sun into electricity, California leads the way. Powered by laws like the one mandating that all new homes must have solar power. But critics say owners get paid too much for the power they sell back to the grid and pay too little to keep the grid maintained and upgraded, a stance the solar industry disputes. So people who have solar, do they in any way contribute to helping with the grid?
Well, absolutely. They reduce the strain on the grid.
Nate Otto is president of Hot Purple Energy. His company recently installed a solar system on my Palm Springs home. He believes power companies want solar users to pay much more each month because they are losing income to solar.
I believe the utilities need to look at a different model. You had the blacksmiths that needed to change and start making wheels for cars, and all they wanted to do was keep making horseshoes. And so they're upset that they're not going to make their profit on their horseshoes.
Solar sells on the promise that owners save enough money that in roughly 8 years, the system will pay for itself, but keeps generating free power for decades more. And the sales pitch works. The industry is booming. Solar jobs increased 167% over the last decade, and now employs more than 250,000 American workers. And making solar users pay more would make solar less attractive, and some say that would wallop the industry. What does that mean for the industry and the people you employ?
Well, it's going to reduce it. There's going to be some sort of industry there. It's going to be a cottage industry rather than the growing, thriving industry that's really providing good, well-paying jobs for a lot of people.
But electric companies say there's a big problem. Take my experience. My electric bill averaged about $500 a month before solar. That included money to maintain the power grid. Today, after spending more than $60,000 on a solar system, it's about $10, with pretty much nothing going for the grid.
This is an interesting statistic.
Barry Moline is executive director of the California Municipal Utilities Association, made up of nonprofit power companies. He believes solar owners should pay a monthly fee to keep the grid going.
Well, another way to look at it is if you own a car, it's like paying taxes for the roads. If you don't pay your taxes, pretty soon the roads are going to have potholes in them and they're going to crumble. So everybody needs to pay their fair share of the roads. In this case, everybody needs to pay their fair share of the grid.
So at the moment, the solar people are getting the car, but they're not paying for the roads.
Exactly.
And solar owners not paying for the grid raises rates for non-solar users who must make up the difference. Many are low-income people who can't afford solar systems. Berkeley professor Borenstein.
All the data show that the customers who are putting in solar are disproportionately wealthy. And so when customers install solar, they are generally shifting costs onto people who are poorer than they are.
And that's exactly what the Reverend Frank Jackson Jr. sees in his faith-based community development work in Southern California.
A child, a spoiled child, that's been receiving this great allowance, all of his life. And now at 18, it's being told that it's got to start sharing. Change is hard for everybody. If you've been used to getting this And now all of a sudden someone is coming in and telling you, you've got to now pay your fair share.
Like the sun, the solar industry sees more bright years ahead. And with that, more debate on who pays and how much to capture the world's freest source of power. For CBS Saturday Morning, Barry Peterson, Palm Springs.
And already you have companies that are popping up that are granted opportunities to help folks from lower income neighborhoods and communities afford solar power. So there is like something coming up from the other side trying to ease that burden.
But you still need to take care of the grid, which
Yes.
I think of Barry's bill, if it went 500 to 10, what if it just went down to 75 and $65 at least goes to the grid? Sorry, Barry, not trying to make you pay more, but it just makes sense.
Absolutely. It's an interesting part of the story
Yeah.
that a lot of people don't really think about when they think solar.
Yes. Good point. Glad we did it.